For residential and commercial construction services you can trust, call Delta Contracting and Design Incorporated in Strattonville today at 814-764-5506. Or if it's concrete and excavating work you need done, then call Ace Concrete and Excavating at 814-764-5551. More on both Delta Contracting and Design and Ace Concrete and Excavating can be found at delcondesign.com. That's DELCON design.com. As you approach retirement, it is important to accumulate assets and build a financial plan that can sustain your lifestyle during your golden years. While calculating the cost of your changing income needs can be daunting, our Retirement Income Evaluator can help you develop a roadmap for the future. To learn more, stop by our office located at 162 South 2nd Avenue in Clarion. Give us a call at 814-223-9990 or visit JanneyClarion.com. Janney Montgomery Scott, LLC, member NYSE, FINRA, and SIPC. Looking for affordable auto, home, and life insurance? Look no further than Allstate Insurance, the David Jones Agency in Clarion and Meadville. At the David Jones Agency, you get personalized attention from someone who lives where you do. The David Jones Agency meets you where you are. They are available during regular business hours, Monday through Friday at their office, via appointment at the office after hours, or remotely. The David Jones Agency also offers investment opportunities, including annuities and IRAs. The David Jones Agency can be reached in Clarion at 814-223-4000 and in Meadville at 814-337-5107. Buying, selling, or building a home? Then call Burford and Henry Real Estate today at 814-227-7355. For more than 15 years, Burford and Henry Real Estate Realtors have been ready to help you in your next property search. They are also the #1 agency selling more homes in the region than anyone else. And with their Showcase Homes divisions, their expert consultants can help you with building the home of your dreams. Check out Burford and Henry online at burfordandhenry.com. Burford and Henry Real Estate Services, something different. Howdy, everybody. This is Chris Rossetti. I think with Andy closed there. What happened there, Andy?
Just a little problem with the camera. We're good.
This is the Janney Montgomery Scotting Clarion Coaches QR show, and it's going to be Andy and I tonight. I know we were hoping to have Jess Quinn on with us, but Jess was unavailable tonight. He had some personal things come up at the last minute. So Andy and I are going to carry the show. We are going to have some guests with us and some other things as we break down the state playoffs as the first round got completed over the weekend. Second round coming up on Wednesday and Thursday. And for those of you who need caught up, and I can't believe there's a lot of you out there, but I'm sure there's some of you out there that need caught up on what's going on. Let's take a look at what the scores from Friday and Saturday were. Let's first take a look at the Friday scoreboard. As you can see on here, and let's get that so that there we go. The scoreboard, as you can see on the scoreboard from Friday night, in boys class 1A first round, Amani Christian over Clarion, Harmony over DuBois Central Catholic, Union over Turkey Foot Valley, Union Newcastle over Kennedy Catholic, Farrell beat Guyville Catholic, and Elk County Catholic beat Neighborhood Academy. Those were in class 1A. In class 4A, Laurel Highlands beat Clearfield, North Catholic beat Hickory, Hampton beat Grove City, and in class 5A, Penn Hills defeated DuBois, and Cathedral Prep beat South Fayette. In those Friday boys scores, Andy, did anything surprise you?
Nothing really. I think the outcomes are pretty much what I expected. The one thing, if I can pick out anything that surprised me, there is how much Union won by. And I know when they advanced to the D9 title game, and I talked to Elk County Catholic coach Aaron Straub after they won to play them in the D9 title game. He talked about a team that didn't necessarily play bad early in the season, but was, it's kind of cliche, playing their best basketball at the right time. And boy, have they ever. They got to the D9 title game, bounced back from that loss in a big way with a big first-round PIAA playoff win. I don't know if the start of the season, many people would have thought that. So if there was any takeaway from those games, that 1A boys game, Union winning by as much as they did, I think sent a message.
I'm taking a look at the girls' scores from Friday. Lakeview over Montauk, Red Bank all over Sarah Catholic. Maplewood beats Aliquippa. Kennedy Catholic over Brentwood. Shadyside Academy over Karn City. Laurel over Sharpsville. Olsh over Wilmington. And Mercier's Prep over Waynesburg Central. And then over there in 5A, it was Upper St. Clair defeating McDowell. Did anything in that group surprise you?
Not really, but again, I'm going to speak to the strength of the Class 2A girls. With Red Bank Valley in District 9 and with Kennedy Catholic, Maplewood and Lakeview in District 10. You have 4 2A teams moving on to the second round, which I think is tied for most in any classification, joining 1A boys. I think that just speaks to the overall strength. I mean, I know you and I have talked about too, just the overall strength of Kennedy Catholic and Red Bank Valley. And I think, Maplewood and Lakeview kind of flexing their muscles there as well. I think just kind of speaking to the depth and the talent there is there on the 2A girls side.
And then let's take a quick look at the Saturday scores. Bringing them up here. In boys, a game that was moved from Friday to Saturday, Cameron County, all over Portage. Andy, that was a bit of a surprise, wasn't it?
I was going to say, out of all the games we had on the first round, that one I think was the biggest surprise. I think just getting some social media reaction from across different parts of the state in that game as well. You could tell that one sent a little bit of shockwaves. Cameron County, the 4th place team at District 9, not only beating the District 6 champion, but handling them, allowing just 28 points. I know Portage was without the leading scorer in that game. That has to be mentioned as well. And they were a little banged up. But nevertheless, that's a very, very impressive performance from Cameron County. And kudos to them losing, that game, the Central Catholic in the 3rd place game in District 9, then bouncing back in a big way.
Yeah, looking at some of the other scores, Aliquip all over Karn City, Otto Eldred in a game you were at, Andy, all over Greensburg Central Catholic, Bishop Canevin, game I was at, Clarion Limestone gave Bishop Canevin all they could handle, West Branch over Cambridge Springs, Mercer over Southern Huntington, Erie First Christian over Clareton, those were in 2A. In 3A, Brookville on the play of the night, Clayton Cook, and we'll get into that a little later on, Clayton Cook with the game-winning shot in overtime, 46-43. Deer Lakes beat Seneca. Neshannock squeaked by All City, and Franklin was all over Shadyside Academy. And then in 6A, Newcastle over Erie. On the girls' side, Union Newcastle was probably wondering why they had to play that game. 47-9 over Clarion, Berlin Brothers Valley over North Clarion, Dubois Central Catholic over Jamestown, Elk County Catholic over Northern Bedford, Otto Eldred beat Monessen. And then in 4A, Knock had a big lead, lost that lead, and then rallied to beat Punxsy. North Catholic over Conneaut, Blackhawk over Warren, Harbor Creek over Quaker Valley, Fairview over Beaver Area, and then the Cathedral Prep girls all over Trinity there. Before we get to our first guest, Andy, let's set the stage for Tuesday and Wednesday. The Tuesday games are out, and what we're looking at there are let's go with the Tuesday boys first here. You've got Amani 1A, Amani Christian at Union at Kiski at 6 p.m. Harmony versus Farrell at Penn West Clarion at 7:30 p.m. Cameron County versus Union Newcastle at Brookville High School at 7 p.m. Carlinton versus Elk County Catholic at Penn West Clarion at 6 p.m. In 5A, Cathedral Prep will play Mars at Westminster College at 6 p.m. Moving over and taking a look at the girls on Tuesday, you're looking at Class 2A, Shenango versus Lakeview at Westminster, 7:30. Maplewood versus Greensburg Central. Catholic at Slippery Rock at 7:30. Red Bank Bishop McCourt at Kiski at 6. Burgettstown at Kennedy versus Kennedy Catholic at Newcastle at 7. And then in 3A, Shadyside Academy, Mercier's Prep at Slippery Rock at 6 p.m. And then on Wednesday, we're looking at the following games. The boys on the boys' side on Wednesday, AA Mercer versus Bishop Canavan at Hampton High School, 7 p.m. Erie First Christian versus Northgate at Sharon at 6. Otto Elger versus Sarah Catholic at DuBois High School at 5:30 p.m. And then on the 3A, Olsh versus Franklin at Westminster at 7:30, and Neshannock versus Brookville at Penn West Clarion also at 7:30. And that leaves us just with the Wednesday girls games to take a look at. And real quick, on Wednesday, the girls are looking this way. You have 1A Union Newcastle versus Elk County Catholic at Penn West Clarion, DuBois Central Catholic versus Williamsburg at Bald Eagle, Bishop Guilfoyle versus Otto Eldred at DuBois. And then in 4A, Penn Cranberry versus Fairview at North Allegheny, Harbor Creek against North Catholic at Westminster, and Cathedral Prep versus Mars at Sharon High School. So, that's just a quick look at the upcoming games, and anybody who really wants to look at those a little further can go to d9and10sports.com. But now we're going to get into some of our interviews with coaches and stuff. We're going to start with Jordan Hoover of the DuBois Central Catholic Cardinals. They've defeated Jamestown, and now they have a tough game with Williamsburg coming up here on Wednesday. Let's add Jordan here. Jordan, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
So, Jordan, when you look at, first of all, the game you had last night, I mean, you kind of knew that you were probably the favorites going into that one. Jamestown was out of that District 10 single A, which really didn't have a whole lot this year. But how do you keep your girls focused on making sure they don't look beyond that team?
I mean, yeah, when you get into the state tournament, the message was pretty simple.
I think we lost Jordan.
Well, hopefully we can get him back.
Well, while we wait on Jordan, let's go to Sean Rhodes, the head coach at Maplewood, coming off of a big win on that was Friday night, right, Andy?
Right.
Andy, I'll let you take the lead here with Coach Rhodes.
Coach, first of all, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Obviously a very successful regular season. You get to the D10 title game. Tough loss to Kennedy Catholic. What was the message going into the first round of states, and how were you able to execute so well?
Well, basically, I told the girls, I said, we're in our third season. Regular season's over, D10's over. Forget about Kennedy that game. We'll learn some things and just get ready. I mean, we did our homework with Aliquippa, and the girls executed. So, really looking forward to Tuesday.
And just going back to earlier in the season, you guys really challenged yourselves. Against some bigger pro. You played Punxsutawney, you played Erie High, you played Harbor Creek. You obviously had the battles with Cambridge Springs. How much do games like that prepare you for this time of year?
Well, I mean, I think they prepare us a lot just from the different looks. That's one thing I stressed to the girls all year. Until the Kennedy game, I said our 4 losses were all to upper classification teams and no slouches to boot. So, I think it's just it battle tests you. And even, our Cambridge games, 2 of those were close. And actually the first one was closer than it ended up score-wise at the end because we hit some free throws. But, the girls, I've said it, and it's probably sounds like a broken record, but they hate losing. And they just keep pushing forward.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Andy. Sean, with all
Okay.
the experience that some of your players had in volleyball, winning the state championship, obviously different sports, but does it make it easier for them to not fear, so to speak, the state playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, I think that helps. I mean, they're used to big moments, and even the girls that don't play volleyball, that played basketball, they've been in the program, for a little while. They're still used to that big moment stuff. I mean, the girls, it's been a pretty good run the last several years for our girls program. So, I mean, any experience you get playoff wise is just because of the atmosphere and everything like that, just changes things.
What do you know so far about Greensburg Central Catholic? It's always been a pretty good program. I'm guessing you're just starting to dive into it today.
Well, yes and no. I mean, you never want to look past the game you're going to, but to say we didn't have things, kind of scouted a little bit, I'd be lying to you. But I can look forward. I just don't let the girls know that we do that. So, they're very, their guards are very talented. Morgan and Gribble and Davis. I mean, they shoot well. So it's definitely a different dynamic than what we've seen previously. But I think we preach defense. So hopefully that'll carry through on Tuesday. But yeah, they're solid. I mean, it's obviously a good program.
I think pretty excited about the location, Slippery Rock University. You would think that you would have a lot of fans from Maplewood making that trip.
Yeah, I believe we'll have a pretty good following. That community they support, regardless of the sport. I mean, whether it's football, girls volleyball, girls basketball. I mean, even the boys, had some good crowds this year. So yeah, I mean, I was kind of sitting on pins and needles. I'd heard a couple of different options on sites, and I wasn't too excited on a couple, but we were definitely pulling for, Slippery Rock, something, not too far, but, we understand that the games have to be, somewhat neutral, but at the same time, we didn't, the shorter the bus ride, the better.
Obviously, this time of year, everybody's good. But what would it mean to your program to make a trip to the Final 8 of the state?
Well, I mean, historically, I mean, Friday's game was our first PIAA win in 29 years, and that's the furthest they've gone. So I mean, it's from a history standpoint, I mean, it sets them apart from any other Maplewood girls basketball team, to be honest. So that's something us coaches, we know that, and I mean, I'm sure some of the community members know that, but I'm trying not to, not the moment's big, but try not to make it too big. I mean, they're still teenage girls, so we want to keep things simple.
For some of maybe the District 9 audience watching right now, tell some people a little bit about your team, maybe some of the players that Andy and I know about, but a lot of people maybe over in District 9 don't.
Well, I mean, if we go with our starting group, I mean, the first names that come to mind for most people are, Sadie Thomas. It seems like she's been around forever. When I was coaching the boys, I remember when she was just a freshman. So, Bailey Vardell, she's just those two are leaders. Sadie's a little more quiet and Bailey's a little more vocal. But they're not afraid of big moments. They're used to big moments. Our guards, our point guard, Madison Eimer, I mean, I'll be honest, she sets the tone defensively. I mean, she just, sometimes I refer to her as an animal because she just gets after people. And then the O'Hara sisters, Madison, the sophomore, and then Savannah, the junior, I'm sorry. They're two really different players, but the three of them, it bodes well. I mean, because Sadie and Bailey are, our senior leaders, and then the other three, and then we've got a couple girls coming off the bench. A few girls with Ray Lynn and Madison Vergona is a senior. Ray Lynn Coley's a junior. Maggie Means is a freshman. She's just a spark plug. Great kid, and I've never thought I'd have to try to slow somebody down, but she's one I gotta kind of put the brakes on a little bit. And then
I'm sorry, Sean, go ahead.
Good, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I was just going to thank you for joining us today, but if you weren't done, just go ahead.
No, I was just going to, we had another one that comes off the bench, Sheila Despenis. She does a good job. She does all the little stuff, and a lot of times people are so worried about, especially in high school, points. But I've said from day one when we took this over, if I had 5 girls averaging 10 points, that's better than one averaging 20 and a bunch of them averaging 6. They share the ball, and we can shoot. That's one thing people sometimes I think forget. So we just, and like I said, our mindset from the beginning has been defense. So that's going to help you win bigger games.
Well, they say defense travels, so.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thanks, Sean, for joining us. I didn't mean to cut you off there. I thought you were. No, I really appreciate you, especially on the short notice tonight, coming over and joining us. So thanks and good luck against Greensburg.
Sorry.
With Sean Rhodes, and I think we've got Jordan Hoover back here. Jordan, there you are.
Hey, I can see you this time. So how's it going, guys?
Good. We were talking when we lost you about how you make sure your team doesn't look past Jamestown on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as you had noted earlier, we knew with only being 4 teams in that district that obviously that was a weak district just on numbers alone and the number of teams they had to offer. But when you get into the state tournament, you can't overlook anybody. You obviously have to win that one, take it to the next one. So we didn't talk a whole lot about opponent as much as we're trying to go 1-0 every week. So I guess as far as team goals go, this week is the same as the opponent in front of us this week. We're trying to win one game at a time. So we sold it that way and really just worked on what we thought our deficiencies were going in.
A little bit like Maplewood, maybe not quite like Union, which was partying like it was 1974. You guys are partying like it was 1999. First state playoff win for the Lady Cardinals since Shanna Mosh, the greatest player to ever play in District 9 and possibly the greatest player that will ever play in District 9, helped DCC to the state semifinals. For those of you who don't know about Shanna Mosh, over 3,000 career points. Yes, you heard that right. Went on to play 4 years at Duke, and then had a long professional career at out over in France and in other places in Europe. But so a pretty big deal for you guys as a school to win that game.
Yeah, it's a huge stepping stone. I think it was actually 3,066, Chris, if I read the plaque correctly. Going through it, it's mind-boggling. I said that's our team, who has been pretty solid, may not score that over a 4-year span. So it was exciting for us. I wish I would have actually talked to you a little earlier. I could have played Prince for the girls coming into the locker room to, I'm sure, much confusion. But yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot of excitement that has been building around the program for a few years now. We feel like we're continuing to take steps, and obviously we went from 5th place qualifier to 3rd place qualifier, and we went from losing a state game to winning a state game. So we're trying to check those boxes and to keep moving forward.
Jordan, the same question I asked Sean Rhodes, but the experience these girls get in softball, they played for a state softball title last year. How does that help them in a big game situation like Saturday, like coming up this week? Like, does it help with the nerve factor? I mean, obviously you're always going to be nervous, but knowing that they can compete on the state level in another sport, does that help them in basketball? I've
always thought so. I'm somebody that pushes our kids to play as many sports as they humanly can, and I think there's value in anything they're doing on a competitive level, but especially with as good as our softball program has been, you can't simulate those pressure moments that they've been in. And I think there's carryover from sport to sport. I mean, as you say that, it's generally, even in a game that we had success on Saturday, our more experienced kids were the more calm kids early. Some of those kids that really haven't been in those moments per se or as much, they come in and there's a couple minutes to kind of iron out the cobwebs and figure it out, and that can be a big deal in a state game. Like, you may not recover from this sometimes. So I think it has a lot of a calming effect on them, especially early in games, because I say to them, just make it a basketball game as soon as possible. Like, you don't, you shake all that off and you just want to execute what you do. But it's obviously easier said than done. And I think those kids that are in big moments do that faster than ones that aren't. And we've been fortunate to have kids that have had success in other sports, and I think it's very helpful.
And then when you see a player like Marina Haynes steps up and scores a career high 16 points, you always know that you're going to have Kaylee Rizzer there and Faith Jacob and Lexi Berta. But then to get that extra from Marina Haynes, how much does that make you even a better basketball team this late in the season going into the game against Williamsburg?
I have a really high opinion of Marina's game, absent of the scoring, and I thought she's been a pretty good player for us for a few years now. We think our balance is good. She struggled from the field a little bit earlier in the year. I think if there's a positive carryover going into this next game is that she shot the ball well, and regardless of opponent, that can carry over. And I think her confidence has been soaring. And honestly, this is kind of when she hit her stride at the end of last year. And there was our playoff game last year that we lost against Ridgeway. She was the one that had to look for a go-ahead field goal. Now she missed it, but I had all the confidence in her taking that. So we have a lot of trust in her, and part of our team strength is we have a lot of trust in a lot of people. I know you mentioned Faith. I told her and everyone else I think she's playing the best basketball of her career, and I think maybe part of that's her senior year, and she's seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. Regardless, we only have a few weeks left at most, so I think that our balance is pretty good, and we trust a lot of kids on our roster.
You get Williamsburg now on Wednesday, 26-1. Are they as good as that record?
They are. I'll tell you what. I think that you probably saw District 6 was pretty good through the state tournament with the girls' side, and they lost to Penns Manor in their opening game. Penns Manor is a nice basketball team, and they've been pretty. I mean, they're averaging 62 points a game. I think the most impressive thing about them is they're averaging 15.1 steals per game. I mean, that's off the charts. They do a lot of their pressure defense, and I would say their frontline physicality on the glass of their signatures. Like any single A team, they have some weaknesses, but they're hard to find. They've got two outstanding players. Chris, I'm usually butchering names, so especially kids from another district. But Ayla Heilman, I believe, she's averaging 20 points a game, and Jayla Woodruff. It's a challenge. We hope not something unique to anything we've seen before. We've been in some games against some really good opponents that I think are probably at that same level of a Williamsburg. But as advertised, very, very good basketball team. And they'll pose a lot of challenges for us. And they honestly, truthfully, would pose a lot of challenges for anybody that plays basketball in the area. So we're looking forward to it, though. I mean, I think we've prepared the girls in a manner where we don't expect them to back down. And we're going to give them, everything we have.
Jordan, you scheduled for this. Your record isn't as gaudy as it might be able to be because of the schedule you had. But how do you feel that schedule has prepared you for now?
I think we've seen evidence of it already. I mean, I think we maybe ran into a bit of a buzzsaw with Otto Eldred and Katie Sheeler, who just performed so well against us. But I mean, if we beat a pretty good North Clarion team by 20, and I think we beat a pretty good Port Allegheny team by 24. So those were teams that had a lot more victories than us going in. So I think that everyone knew we were better than our record going in. But we think that we're not really intimidated in these situations because of how we scheduled, as you mentioned. Our three, quote, weak opponents out of conference were, or that I scheduled non-conference were West Shamokin, who we think was pretty good, Clearfield, who played in a district title game, and Clarion, who was a state qualifier. Outside of those three teams, everybody we played out of conference had at least 12 wins, and so many of them are still playing. So,
well, Jordan, thanks for joining us. We wish you luck on Wednesday, and it's always exciting this time of year.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you for everything you guys do. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jordan.
Folks, we're going to step aside. When we come back, we'll have Derek and Landon Francis of Otto Eldred here. You're watching the Janney Montgomery Scott in Clarion QR Coaches Chalkboard Show on the YDL Sports Network.
For residential and commercial construction services you can trust, call Delta Contracting and Design Incorporated in Strattonville today at 814-764-5506. Or if it's concrete and excavating work you need done, then call Ace Concrete and Excavating at 814-764-5551. More on both Delta Contracting and Design and Ace Concrete and Excavating can be found at delcondesign.com. That's DELCON design.com.
As you approach retirement, it is important to accumulate assets and build a financial plan that can sustain your lifestyle during your golden years. While calculating the cost of your changing income needs can be daunting, our Retirement Income Evaluator can help you develop a roadmap for the future. To learn more, stop by our office located at 162 South 2nd Avenue in Clarion. Give us a call at 814-223-9990 or visit JanneyClarion.com. Janney Montgomery Scott, LLC, member NYSE, FINRA, and SIPC. Looking for affordable auto, home, and life insurance? Look no further than Allstate Insurance, the David Jones Agency in Clarion and Meadville. At the David Jones Agency, you get personalized attention from someone who lives where you do. The David Jones Agency meets you where you are. They are available during regular business hours Monday through Friday at their office, via appointment at the office after hours, or remotely. The David Jones Agency also offers investment opportunities, including annuities and IRAs. The David Jones Agency can be reached in Clarion at 814-223-4000 and in Meadville at 814-337-5107. Buying, selling, or building a home? Then call Burford & Henry Real Estate today at 814-227-7355. For more than 15 years, Burford & Henry Real Estate Realtors have been ready to help you in your next property search. They are also the #1 agency selling more homes in the region than anyone else. And with their Showcase Homes divisions, their expert consultants can help you with building the home of your dreams. Check out Burford & Henry online at burfordandhenry.com. Burford & Henry Real Estate Services, something different. Back here on
The Janney Montgomery Scott and Clarion Coaches Chalkboard Show. No coach with us tonight, but that's okay. Andy and I'll do our best to fill in for that. But let's get into that Otto Eldred Greensburg Central Catholic game, 66-54 Otto. Andy, you were there, and before we bring in Derek and Landon Francis, why don't you kind of give people how it went? I know we have some highlights from that game as well.
Yeah, we do. And just a game that was entertaining as all get out. As these guys will jump on and tell you in a minute, Otto jumped out to a quick 10-point lead, but it was really tight after that, really the whole way through. Greensburg Central Catholic didn't take their first lead until a 3 late in the third quarter that made it 44-41, I think with about 30 seconds left in the third quarter. And how did Otto Eldred respond? Well, they responded with an 18-1 run. And it was just phenomenal. And as these guys will talk about here in a minute, it was everyone up and down the board, contributing. Brax Caldwell with some big shots, Landon with some big shots, Sheen Thomas, Manning Splain had a couple of huge threes to kind of cap that run. And when he hit his second three there to kind of end that run, that was as loud as I've ever heard a gym. It was just an unbelievable response. It was a great basketball game. And, making history there for the Otto Eldred boys basketball program, getting their first state playoff win. Just a really terrific basketball game, what you would expect at the state level. Just a lot of fun.
I think we have some of that 3-point barrage you're talking about, Andy, don't we?
I think we do.
The pretty good shooting there.
Yeah, this is an Otto Eldred team that's what they do. They space out. They have 5 guys. They put 5 guys on the court that can beat you, and that's what I think makes them so special. Is there's no weakness there. Anyone can beat you there from inside and out. And I see we're joined right now by Derek and Landon Francis. Guys, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess I'll start before we talk about the game and going forward and stuff. I know we talked about this afterwards. Just the atmosphere for both your game and the girls' game was as good as I've been around in high school basketball. Just talk a little bit about how much fun that was to be a part of.
Yeah, it was super special. We have some great fans in the community, and they just show up every single day, every single game. There were 100 people there an hour and 15 minutes before the girls' game. It was incredible.
Yeah, that was packed. I've seen that gym, and as loud as, like you said earlier, when Manning hit that 3, I couldn't even hear myself.
Yeah, and again, guys, too. I mean, obviously, and I talked with both you guys about this afterwards. It didn't go the way you wanted in Clarion with the District 9 championship. And Coach, you said too that when you got back in the gym, it was just like the first day of practice all over again. Just how excited these guys were to get out on the practice floor. Just talk a little bit about the preparation and how you guys were able to come out and kind of put that game behind you and execute.
These kids just like coach before us, like they just don't want to lose. They want to play one more game for one another. I always preach family, and like none of these kids want to let these seniors down. The seniors don't want to let these underclassmen down. They just want to play for one another one more game.
Yeah, like he said, we just wanted to put that behind us and try to make history for our school, make a little run in the States.
Now, Chris, I'll go ahead and let you jump in there with questions for these guys.
To get another doubleheader with the girls at DuBois High School on Wednesday, how exciting is that in itself? There's no guarantee that you're going to get to play in the same location. So the way that it worked out, you have to be pretty excited.
Yeah, for sure. It's pretty special playing, a game before or after them. I always tell Coach Gray, they always put a ton of pressure on us because they always seem to beat everybody by 20. And it's like, man, every time we come out, it's like, holy smokes, a ton of pressure. You guys you're killing it out there.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see all the fans and have a doubleheader with our girls again.
What do you guys know about Sarah Catholic? Obviously finished seventh. Interesting season. They're 16 and 11. They lost a quarterfinal game, and then they lost in their Concy first round, but they came back and won in the 7th place game, and then they beat Central Cambria by 13. It's been an interesting season for that team. But how much have you been able to take a look at them so far, Derek?
I started about 2:00 this afternoon and been watching game film ever since. So when you text me, I was still watching game film. They're fast, they're quick. I don't think they have a ton of height, but they're going to be tough to guard. I mean, they spread you out, and anytime a team can spread you out and create space, it's tough to guard.
They did play that Greensburg Central Catholic team twice, losing by 10 in mid-January and in a closer game. I think it was a 2-point game back in December. So, I mean, it obviously should be a game that you guys feel that, like, you're at least going in, and it's not like you feel like you're completely don't belong on the same court with them.
No, we never, not one of my kids think that we don't belong with somebody. If we shoot it, we're hard to beat. Obviously, we didn't shoot it very well at Clarion. But, if we can shoot it, we can play with anybody. And I told them 11 kids all year long that I'd take them anywhere. We'd go play anywhere, anybody. And, I'd go to battle with them. They're just great kids.
Yeah, you made the trip to DuBois, different school than what you're going to be playing at on Wednesday, but you've made that trip. How big is that in terms of comfortable living?
We tried to get some games in the regular season to kind of simulate these 2-hour bus rides. And it just happened we're in DuBois. It's not going to be any different than when we went to DCC earlier. Clarion a couple times. Wherever they send us, we're going to go play.
Yeah, I love that. I love that mentality. And to your point too, I know we've talked about this too, but you guys, even before the season, like even the summer, you guys are challenging yourself during that time against some top competition. How does all of that prepare you when you get to this level?
I mean, when we're playing against those teams up in New York, I mean, Final Four teams in the state, I mean, it shows, and when we come to our season, that, I mean, playing those good teams helps us out a lot.
You guys are still a young team. It's hard, but a lot of your key players are just sophomores.
They're not young anymore, Chris. We don't use that excuse at Otto Elder.
I was just going to ask how exciting it is to be with all these underclassmen and where you're at.
It's funny you say that. There's been people, even last year, are you sure these freshmen can play? And And I don't put a kid on a court to be unsuccessful. Like if I put them on the court, they're ready to play. And that's our mentality. And I don't use that as an excuse. I'm not gonna lie, I wish my sophomores and juniors look like that Tyree Turner, because that kid's a special ball player. That kid's a man.
When you go in and you look at, and I know we sort of touched on it, but with the girls and all that, but just for the community of Duke Center, Eldred Township, even Bradford, what does this mean to the community to be watching the success that these teams are having?
I think it's really cool. I mean, there's a couple people told me that people sold out of food at these local little restaurants up here at Duke Center, and they probably haven't done that in 10 years. I don't know.
Andy, got anything more?
No, just I none of your success, guys, it might surprise some people. It doesn't surprise me. Having the opportunity to see you play a number of times, I guess not really a question in here. Just I've been really impressed each and every time out, you guys. And Derek, I love the line you used to me after the game against Greensburg Central. We're getting older every time we step out in the court. I just think that speaks to the maturity, the continued maturity of this team. And it's been a lot of fun to watch you, and we certainly wish you the best of luck going forward.
Hey, one more thing, guys. The Greenberg Central Catholic, they're a class act. That's a great program. That was a great, their coaching staff, their players, that was big time basketball, and they all had respect after the game, and that was really cool to see. You don't see that a lot in high school sports.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us, and good luck on Wednesday.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
So, Andy, let's get into, we've talked a little bit about the games you were at. Let's get into one of the games I was at, one of the games of the year. That would have been Brookville 46 and Seton LaSalle 43. Let's go straight to how it ended first. This is Clayton Cook, and this is just unbelievable. I mean, you look at that three-pointer, he doesn't get the ball until there's 1.2 seconds to go, and then he's probably 7-8 feet behind the three-point line, over in front of his bench. And then the student section rushes the court, and you don't see that on that video, but the student section rushes the court. It's one of those moments that you, as an athlete, as a fan, as a media person, never forget.
Yeah, I mean, that's to your point, that's why you compete. Not probably how they drew it up, but
not at all how they drew it up. They wanted to draw it up
too.
Yeah, they wanted to draw it up so that Clayton gets the ball at about the free throw line. Well, that's about as far from the free throw line as you can get.
You can't script sports sometimes, and that's the beauty of it. And you talked about it. You were there. I talked about how unbelievable, and Derek and Landon talked about how unbelievable the atmosphere in Duke Center was. But I think it was equally that way in Brookville.
It was, and we have a video here, an interview with Clayton Cook and Noah Peterson, who threw him the pass there. And both of those guys talked about that was as loud when they went on a run. They used a press to go on a run when they were down 6 early in the fourth quarter. And they said that's as loud as that gym was that they've ever heard of it. And one thing about that three-pointer that needs to be mentioned, it's a tie game with about 1:20 to go, and Seton LaSalle's inbounding the ball. And Brookville played such great defense that they forced the kid into making a pass that he doesn't want to make. And Clayton came up with this steal because of it. And that really shouldn't be underlooked in the game-winning situation here. That was the game winner again. Here's the steal. and just that's what they do at Brookville. They come up with big defensive plays, and once they did that, they were able to control the basketball for the final minute 20. They called a timeout right there, as you saw after the steal. They called another one at 16.6, and it led to the winning shot. But none of that happens if they don't play that defense that forces a guy to either take a 5-second violation or make a pass he doesn't want to make.
Yeah, and again, this is a Brookville team, a Brookville program. Maybe not these kids per se. Some of them, yes. They've had so much postseason success. And I think they don't panic in those moments, even if it does go off script. Things aren't always going to go, best laid plans, in the huddle, what you want to execute sometimes doesn't work out. You get on the court and you kind of have to improvise a little bit. And, I think this team has a slow pulse. They don't panic. I think that's part of that is the byproduct of playing in so many big games and big moments.
I mean, and these kids talk about moments. The seniors were sophomores when Jace Miner comes up with the steal, the layup, the block shot to beat Elwood City in the state playoffs 2 years ago in that run that they made for the state championship game. For them to keep experiencing moments like that is really exciting. And I had a chance to catch up with Clayton Cook and Noah Peterson after the game. This is what these guys had to say.
Here with Clayton Cook and Noah Peterson. Clayton, I'm going to start with you. I mean, what's going through your mind at the point in time where you're taking that shot? I mean, that's not in anybody's real range.
Yeah. Honestly, not a lot was going through my mind. I looked up at the clock when Noah had the ball in the corner. I screamed his name because I saw he was doubled and Noah was on me, and I was probably the only one who could get something off at that point. And the shot before felt really good, and that was open and actually in range. That one was a little bit of a prayer, but I felt good leaving my hand, so it was just kind of watching it.
Noah, you've got the ball. Time's running out. What did you see? How did you find him? What did you see in all of that?
Well, like you said, I was double teamed, so I was like, I can't get this shot off like a clean shot, and we're going to go into overtime again. And I passed it, and I glanced at the clock. It said 1.1. I'm like, no way he's going to get this off. That was as I was passing, and he just caught it, immediately shot it, and then I went in.
Oh, Clayton, what's going through your mind when it goes through?
I kind of just paused for a second. I was like, did that really just happen? And then I saw everybody storming, and I started jumping up and down. It was crazy.
Noah, from your perspective, what were you seeing there when it went in?
He just started running away, so I just started running with him, and then a big doggy pile. Everyone was on top of us. It was just awesome.
You guys haven't had to play from behind a lot this year, but you're behind, and then you put on that press, and just like that, the game came back to you. Talk about the defense and turning that defense into offense.
Yeah, we definitely have the guys that can do that type of stuff. I mean, we didn't really do it until we needed to, I guess you could say, but when we put the pressure on, it helped us a lot. We got a lot of momentum. The crowd was crazy. That's the loudest I've ever heard it here before, and that really helped. And so we had a week off, and I felt we kind of started slow in the first half, and we were only down 2. We played C+ basketball, and we needed to play our B+ A game to win this game, and I think our second half we played that. So,
what's it like? I mean, your student section rushes. I mean, this is the stuff you see on TV, guys.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, what's it like?
I mean, it was crazy. I mean, every kid when they're younger dreams about stuff like this happening. I mean, no matter what stage, it's just crazy. I mean, all the support was really good.
Andy, your takeaway from all this?
Again, just this is what basketball at this level is about. Everything from the execution at the end of the game to the atmosphere. It's what you live for as a competitor, as an athlete. And, you can tell, talking to those guys there, the moment's not too big for them. It's just, they're just playing basketball, something they've done, most of their lives. And, but I thought you touched on something there too, during that interview. And what impressed me, they're not used to playing from behind. They've lost 2 games. They haven't lost since mid-December. They lost, I think, to Warren, their tip-off tournament in the Elk County Catholic on December 16th. And for the most part, they're not used to facing deficits. So to me, I mean, everyone's going to focus on the game-winning shot, and that's for good reason. But their ability to rally when they got down, especially when they haven't been faced with that too often this season, was really impressive.
Yeah, they're going to be playing a team that did the same thing, that rallied. Neshannock rallying over Oil City for a 71-69 win. Brian Hagberg was at that game, and he was also at the Franklin big win over Shadyside Academy. Brian, a little earlier, was able to film a little bit and give you his take on it. And let's go to Brian right now and see what he had to say about both of those games.
Yeah, guys, we'll talk first about that Oil City Neshannock game. For 3 quarters, really, that was all Oil City. They seemingly couldn't miss. All the bounces were going their way. And then all of a sudden, that fourth quarter hit, and fortune seemed to turn. All the bounces seemed to start going Neshannock's way. And it was suddenly the Lancers who couldn't miss anything, whereby in the first 3 quarters it had been the Oilers who really seemingly couldn't miss much of anything. Had some big runs in the first half to help them build an 11-point lead going into that fourth quarter. And then all of a sudden the Lancers just caught fire. And Oil City still had chances to maintain the lead and or win that game late in the fourth quarter. It really comes down to free throw shooting. Neshannock missed a couple of free throws that really kept the Oilers in it. Perhaps, none bigger than the 2 misses with 9.9 seconds to go. Oil City's able to rebound, gets the ball up the floor quickly, and Connor Highfield knocks down a big 3-pointer to make it a 1-point game. And then again, with 4.5 seconds to go, Neshannock goes 1 of 2 from the line. They missed the second one, and Cam Van Warmer gets the rebound, gets it just across midcourt, but his midcourt heave at the buzzer fell just short, or actually was a little bit long between a pair of defenders there. And really, that was the ballgame. That fourth quarter changed everything. It looked, for all intents and purposes, as though Oil City was going to advance and move on, and would eventually play what would have turned out to be Brookville on that big last second shot by Cook. And what a story that would have made. Have a second round matchup featuring a pair of teams that got there by hitting buzzer-beating 3-pointers to win their first round games. But alas for the Oilers, it was not to be, and now the Raiders will face a Neshannock team that, if Brookville can play consistently throughout, certainly has a solid chance of winning that game and advancing on into the Class 3A quarterfinals. Turning our attention over to Franklin, a total opposite game. This was a game that was really, from start to finish, the Knights were in complete control. There was an early point in the game where Shadyside Academy went up 5-3, and then Franklin came back with a 13-0 run, and that was pretty much all she wrote from that point. Damon Curry caught fire offensively for the Knights, and on the defensive end, there was a whole lot of Jonathan Lescia. Had himself quite the block party last night in Franklin. Came away with at least a half dozen blocks by my count. And when he's able to get those big rejections, and it allows the Knights to get into transition, not just for Curry, but it was really a total team effort. You could see, all the guys were contributing and scoring points seemingly at will again in the first half. The second half, Shadyside was able to come out and get the first couple of buckets. But then once the Knights got themselves on the scoreboard in the second half, it was almost a mirror image of the first. Shadyside would hit a couple shots, but really it was all Franklin. And then Lescia gets that big dunk late in the third quarter, and that really seemed to kind of put the nail in the coffin. There was a full quarter left to play, but that really seemed to put the nail in the coffin and kind of secure in everyone's mind there in a packed Franklin High School gymnasium, standing room only crowd for that game. Really, that the Knights were going to go on almost at ease. I mean, if you could give one criticism, it would maybe be that they couldn't get that penultimate bucket that would have given them the running clock in the second half. But I mean, when those are the kind of things that you're criticizing in a state tournament victory, you got a lot of good things going for you. And then Knights now will take on Our Lady of the Sacred Heart, a team that struggled in its first round game. This is not necessarily the same Olds team that we're used to seeing in the last few years. And if Franklin's able to get off to the hot start, whether it be Lescia on defense or Curry offensively, or one of the other guys stepping up as well,
this is a team that very much is capable of knocking off Olsh in the second round and advancing to the quarterfinals, especially if they're hitting buckets. I mean, not just field goals, but three-pointers were falling for them as well all night, Saturday night. If they're a team that's able to come out and shoot like they did against Shady Side Academy, watch out. This can be a very, very dangerous Franklin team, not just against Olsh, but moving forward in this Class 3A tournament. So that's the wrap from Franklin and Oil City, and Chris and Jess, we'll turn it back over to you.
Hi, Chris Rossetti here from D9and10sports.com. I wanted to take a second to tell you about one of the best restaurants in all of Western Pennsylvania, the Allegheny Grill in Foxburg, PA. With indoor and outdoor dining, you can enjoy prime rib all weekend long, or perhaps it is their full wings served on Thursday wing nights that you're after. From celebrating a special occasion to hanging out with family and friends, the Allegheny Grill in Foxburg is the place to be. As they like to say, you come for the food and you stay for the view. Reserve your table today at AlleghenyGrill.com.
Are you hungry? Are you hungry? Of course you're hungry. And Daddy's on Main Street in Clarion is ready to tackle that hunger for you. Serving amazing food since 2008, Daddy's has been Clarion's go-to stop whenever hunger strikes. Whether it's a good old-fashioned hot dog or hamburger, a salad, or something from their rotating chef's menu. Yes, I said rotating chef's menu. Daddy has you covered. You can order ahead by calling 814-223-4687 or come on in and dine in. Have a big event you are catering? Daddy's can do that too. Like Daddy's on Facebook at Daddy's Clarion and stop in today. You won't be disappointed. As you approach retirement, it is important to accumulate assets and build a financial plan that can sustain your lifestyle during your golden years. While calculating the cost of your changing income needs can be daunting, our Retirement Income Evaluator can help you develop a roadmap for the future. To learn more, stop by our office located at 162 South 2nd Avenue in Clarion. Give us a call at 814-223-9990 or visit JanneyClarion.com. Janney Montgomery Scott, LLC, member NYSE, FINRA, and SIPC.
What's the recipe for surprising the kids, treating yourself, and ditching dish duty? You're looking at it. Order your Pizza Hut faves like original pan, original stuffed crust, and more at PizzaHut.com. No one out-pizzas the Hut.
Andy, we're back here on the Janney Montgomery Scott and Clarion QR Coaches Chalkboard Show. Let's take a quick look at the games coming up here on Tuesday night. Red Bank Valley, Bishop McCord, Burgerstown Kennedy Catholic, Maplewood, Greensburg Central Catholic, Shenango Lakeview in Class 2A. Do any of those teams move on to next weekend?
I think we've talked about Kennedy Catholic and Red Bank Valley so much this year, and for good reason. Phenomenal teams with phenomenal players. Look at Red Bank led by Miley Harmon, Kennedy Catholic by Lake Fields and others. I think they both. I like them both to move on as well. And then I think you got to give Maplewood a fighting chance as well. That's a team, as you said when we were talking with Sean Rhodes earlier. Defense travels. And that's a team with championship pedigree. So I wouldn't count them out either as well. But I think definitely looking at Kennedy and Red Bank, I think they've both been juggernauts all year. They've kind of been building towards this. And so I would expect both of them to move on to the state quarterfinals.
Red Bank coming off of that big win over Greensburg Central Catholic, and I had a chance to catch up with Miley Harmon after that victory. And Miley, the sensational sophomore, one of the best players in the state, let's just be honest here. And here's what Miley had to say.
Miley, after losing in this round last year, how important was it to get this game for you guys?
It was really important, really personal. Last year we had an upset. We were planning on winning. I was sick, there was a lot of things going on that week and we just didn't play well. So it was pretty much a statement to say that we're not just good in the K-Sub, we can make it run to states and play the harder teams.
They started out fast. I think it was 7-2. They were up 11-8, and then you guys go on a 14-0 run. What changed for you guys about late there in that first quarter into the second quarter?
We don't get down on ourselves whenever we're down. We just try to stay calm, cool, and collected, And so whenever we just went on that run, we just got in our heads, didn't get on our heads, actually, and then just told ourselves we can do it and just push ourselves.
And then you guys start the third quarter on a 14-2 run to pretty much put the game away. What was the message at halftime?
just keep doing what we're doing. Once we get a basketball, we're all hyped. We have the great student section, the great fans, so everyone on the bench was hyped. So we just had to get that atmosphere, and we feed off that atmosphere. So we just had to keep going.
Final 16 of the state. How does that feel?
Amazing.
And then, Andy, we have another girls' game there on Tuesday, Shady Side Academy against Mercyhurst Prep. What's your expectations here? Mercyhurst Prep's usually pretty solid basketball. Obviously, the District 10 champions. What do you give their chances of winning here on Tuesday?
I think they have a very good chance. You're talking about a team that's led very balanced, but Olivia Kulik's kind of the ringleader for them. One of the best players on the short list for Player of the Year in District 10, 1,000-point scorer as a junior. Just a phenomenal basketball player. And that team, they were the class all year in District 10 3A. And I think you kind of saw that in their first through the District 10 playoffs in their first round of states. It's been very workmanlike for them. They're a program that's used to having success. You obviously have some very good players, behind her as well, Lily Rose Lang and others. But I would give them a puncher's chance in that game for sure. That's a very talented, very skilled basketball team, and they can hit you in a hurry. They can go on, very skilled offensively. They can get on a run real quick, and that's one of the things that impresses me most about them.
And moving over to the boys' side on Tuesday, Amani Christian against Union out of District 9. Oh, youch. Amani Christian just rolled right past Clarion. Union obviously has one win over Clarion, but 2 losses. Not a real favorable matchup for the Golden Knights there. Some matchups that might be a little bit more favorable. Harmony against Farrell. Carlington against Elk County Catholic, and then kind of the surprise, the one we don't really know about, Cameron County against Union Newcastle. Union Newcastle, obviously their coach Mark Stanley making headlines about complaining about Amani Christian and their ability to bring in people from all over. I don't know, Andy. I used to be somebody that complained a lot about that. The PIAA doesn't seem to have an answer for it. I'm not sure there is a strong answer for it, to be honest with you, outside of separating private and public. But even then, I'm not sure it works because you see transfers between public and public now. Is this just where we're at now? And are people are just going to have to learn to live with this?
Yeah, I mean, and I've been an advocate for that as well. But yeah, it's not going away. You can complain all you want. I know I'm someone not recently, but in the past, I've kind of made my voice heard about that. But it is what it is. I don't see it changing anytime soon. And is it fair necessarily? No, it's not. You're talking about a Union team there out of District 7 that a lot of those kids were on the state football team that made a run to the state championship game, beat Port Allegheny in the state semifinals. So you're talking about a team, a small school in Class A there that has a lot of talented athletes. And sometimes for Class A schools, that's generational. Sometimes it's sustainable, but sometimes you get generational groups. And when you feel like you have that group and you kind of get cheated by the system a little bit, it might not be fair. And maybe that's true. But, this is what we have. And, we personally, across District 9, District 10, still have 4 teams left in this field when you talk about Elk County Catholic and Cameron County and Union and Farrell as well. And I'm very interested to see how those games go. And we talked about Union kind of peaking at the right time. They're going to have their hands full, but to beat the best, or to be the best, you have to beat the best. So.
The interesting matchup there will be Dawson Camper against the 6'10" kid from Amani Christian.
Well, I know there's one thing I know about Dawson Camper. He won't back down.
Well, there's a lot of truth to that one. And then looking at 5A, Cathedral Prep against Mars. Cathedral Prep struggled in its last 2 games. Had some trouble with Du Bois in the sub-regional final, then had some trouble in the first round of the state tournament. What's your take on the Ramblers?
It's not a team that's going to necessarily blow you away with their offensive talent. They're very well coached. What their strength is, they're very long and athletic. One thing you've seen, even though in some people's eyes they may have struggled, is they've still limited their opposition, even these sub-regional in the first round of state, on the defensive end. This is an excellent defensive basketball team. And as we've talked about several times during this show already, defense travels, and that's going to keep them in every single game they play. You're talking about a program that made a run to a state championship a few years ago. I think many people maybe didn't expect them to.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. And this season, I think a lot of people, based on how their season's gone, kind of expect them to make a similar run and, struggle a little bit. But it's a state playoffs, You're getting a good team every time out. So, I think it's a team that's battle tested and ready to compete in those tight games.
Moving on to Wednesday, looking at the girls Class A, Union Newcastle, Elk County Catholic, a rematch of last year's game that Union Newcastle won by 3 points. We've already talked to Jordan Hoover about DCC and Williamsburg, and then you have Bishop Guilfoyle against Ottawa in Class A. So the 3 District 9 teams in Class 1A still live. Do you like one of those teams over any of the others to win?
I give them all well, before I get it, I give them all a puncher's chance. I love this Ottawa Elder basketball team. I think they have several things going for them. Number one, they have the experience. It was kind of new to them, but it's not new to them now. I think talking to them over the course of this season, that's something, and watching them play, that's something that really stands out. And it's another team, for all their great offensive prowess, this is a great defensive team. And Coach Sean Gray talked about a little bit after their first round win on Saturday about rebounding and defense. And that's something that this team does really well that I don't think they necessarily get credit for. And then offensively, obviously, you talk about the skill level. Katie Sheeler is as good a scorer as you will find. Anna Mary's a terrific offensive player as well. And so they kind of spearhead them on the offensive end. So I expect them to move on for sure. And then, with Elk County Catholic.
Let's hold on a second, Andy. Yeah. Let's take a look at some of those Otto Eldred highlights from their win over Monessen yesterday first.
Oh, yeah.
That Katie Sheeler range
is from anywhere inside the gym.
But no, I think it was Anna Mary that talked to me a little bit about the rebounding, how good Bree Heller specifically, and I think the word she used was beast. Anna Mary did describe Bree Heller underneath. To me, this is a complete basketball team that they've been through these wars now, and nothing's going to faze them. And I like their chances going forward.
Moving on to the 4A girls bracket and the 5A girls bracket, all District 10 teams, Penn Cambria against Fairview at North Allegheny High School, Harbor Creek North Catholic at Westminster, and Cathedral Prep Mars at Sharon. I think we'd all be surprised if Cathedral Prep doesn't knock off 7-6 Mars in 5A, but in your 4A bracket there, do you like either of those District 10 teams there?
Obviously, those are really tough games for both of them in Penn Cambria and North Catholic. But again, these are teams that, and again, I'm going to keep bringing it up, defense. They play Fairview and Harbor Creek both play excellent defense. Fairview has, Hope Garrity, 1,500-point scorer. And something interesting that with them too is they went undefeated in the regular season last year and didn't even make it out of the District 10 playoffs a year ago. And you saw them schedule very aggressively this season. I think that's really prepared them. So I think I give them a shot. I really do. Their defense is terrific, and when you have with Bree Height underneath as well, and Sarah Januso, and that's just a very, very good basketball team. So I'll be interested to see how that turns out.
And then moving on to the boys' side on Wednesday, AA Mercer versus Bishop Canavan. Andy, you've obviously covered Mercer more than I have. Bishop Canavan's a team that's going to want to go up and down. They're going to run up and down the court. They've got a couple of really, really, really talented players. How do you believe Mercer's going to match up against that kind of style?
It's a tough matchup for them, but they're capable of doing that as well. You talk about Jake Maddox, a terrific player, Damian Maddox as well. And they've kind of been building for this at Mercer. They haven't had a lot of postseason success until this year in quite some time. But they're a team that can fill it up as well, and they're not going to. I don't know if they can win going up and down in that style of game against that caliber of an opponent, but they will not be intimidated or be hesitant to get to that kind of game.
Then Erie First Christian, I'm going to be honest, Andy, not a team that I think you and I have talked about a lot this year, but all they've done is won.
Yeah, well, they played in a very tough Region 4 against a lot of 3A schools there, bigger schools. I think that really prepared them, for what playing Girard and Fairview and some of those schools in that region really prepared them. And I think they kind of came into the playoffs a little under the radar because their record wasn't that great, but really they proved to be the class of 2A. They showed it throughout the District 10 playoffs. And, they got, Jesse Jong and the Collins brothers, Avery and Anthony, that can really fill it up. And again, another team that won't necessarily be afraid to get into an up and down, a faster tempo kind of game.
We already talked about Otto, Eldred, and Sarah Catholic. Taking a look over in 3A, Ulsh and Franklin, as Brian mentioned on his segment there, this isn't quite the Ulsh team that won back-to-back state titles, but they are two-time defending state champions. Franklin's going to have to play a really good game to win that game.
They are. And I want to talk about Franklin for just a minute, if I may. This is a Franklin team that Easton Fulmer graduates, the all-time leading scorer, now playing at Edinburgh, all-time leading scorer in Franklin high school history. If you know anything about Franklin basketball, that's one heck of an accomplishment. Luke Guth, the third-team all-district player last year, decides not to play. Verbally committed to Vanderbilt to play baseball. Maybe on a short list of best baseball players in the state of Pennsylvania. But anyway, so they have a lot to replace. But one thing they did have coming back was Damon Curry. And Damon Curry might be the best player in District 10. 1,000-point scorer as a junior. A little banged up earlier in the season. But I know talking to Coach Jason Fulmer after their D10 title game win, he's the kind of kid, and with the guys they have around him, like Cole Buckley and Jalen Woods and Jonathan Lecce, they can go on a little bit of a run. And it's funny, they got upset not upset, because at Elwood City in that first round game a year ago, where Elwood City got upset in the Whitfield playoffs, that was kind of not a great matchup for them. But this is a team that can go on a little bit of a run.
And then Brookville versus Neshannock. Brookville team that took Franklin behind the woodshed earlier this year, honestly. I think it was a 17-point game at Franklin.
Yeah.
And we talked at length about Brookville and what they do. And again, you've talked about defense, and we've talked about defense travels, and that's really where it starts with Brookville. They're a team that's going to want to play in the 40s, maybe 50s at the most, but they're going to play a deliberate style, but they're going to get after it defensively. Their guards are really strong. Noah Peterson, Connor Marshall, Jack Pete. Really the big thing for them, stay out of foul trouble. Jack Pete got himself in a little bit of foul trouble yesterday, ended up fouling out of the game. He wasn't on the court when they won the game, which is a testament to the rest of those kids. But that's a program that made a run to the state championship game 2 years ago. And anybody that sleeps on Brookville right now, they're only sleeping on them on their own pearl.
Yeah, absolutely. Championship DNA, championship pedigree at Coach Park has just done a phenomenal job with that program. And they I'm not saying it's going to happen, but what if we ended up getting a Brookville Franklin rematch in the state semifinal? I mean, obviously a lot has to happen to get to that point.
Boy, that'd be a lot of fun. I was at the first game. As much as Brookville took control of that game, it was still a lot of fun. And that'd be a lot of fun to see. But obviously, we're still a couple rounds away from that. Big games coming up here for both of those teams. Andy, that's going to do it for us here on the Janney Montgomery, Scott, and Clarion Coaches Chalkboard. Hopefully, we have another one of these shows coming up for you, maybe Thursday, if everything. I'm going to think a few of those teams that are playing on Tuesday and Wednesday should get through.
I think so. Yeah, we're gonna have some teams moving on for sure. And that quarterfinal round, well, first of all, Tuesday and Wednesday are going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun to see which teams can advance. And there's always a surprise. So it was Cameron County boys in the first round. So I'm fascinated to see what that surprise is here in the second round.
Well, Andy, thanks for joining. Thanks to Jordan Hoover, Sean Rhodes, Derek and Landon Francis, Brian Hagberg for joining us. And till next time, for Andy Close, this is Chris Rossetti. Jeez, I had a little echo going on in my ear there, and I couldn't even pronounce my own name there, Andy. Wow. For Andy Close, this is Chris Rossetti saying good night.